The Shark Deck.
Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. The writer strike continues. Late night is off. The Late Bot looked at Japan's smile coaches. Yeah, you see, after 3 years of COVID, some Japanese people feel that, like, their smile is rusty. Keiko Kawano is a smile instructor, and the Late Bot says, talk about going to great lengths to keep a stiff upper lip. Japan's smile coach is like a personal trainer for your face. They'll make you work those smile muscles until you're so exhausted you'll need Botox. They say the smile coach in Japan can even make Brett Goldstein crack a smile. Who needs Botox? You can just snap on a smile face mask and call it a day. Bert Kreischer told Pardon My Take, I do not want to die in a car accident with Tom Segura. And that's how that guy's going to die. Yeah. Why? Well, he drives like an effing a-hole, like a 16-year-old a-hole. But he knows the pedals. You know the pedals you can never use? Yeah, he uses them. So Pardon My Take said, all right, if you do die in a car accident with Tom Segura, if you're in the same car, who gets top billing? Bert said, oh, that's a good question. If our plane crash goes down, Tom... Sam Morill says, what's weird is the comics who kill all the time have these huge egos, but I'm like, you're not writing. You should hate yourself. It's just part of the game. If you're going to keep trying to turn over new material, you're going to fail constantly, and it's going to make you very humble. I get why certain comics play the hits. Maybe they're just trying to float and stay alive, but it's very competitive out there. A tough business. You're not getting these road gigs because you have a fan base, but because you're reliable, but it's very hard to grow out of that. Yeah, you're going to bomb, but that's part of the process, and it's fun. My friend is in this mode where he's closing in on a special and he says to me, I'm so jealous of you. I'm just honing for the next few months and you're creating. It's like much more fun to write than edit. And I was like, yeah, it really is. Then I said, but you get to kill. And he said, that's true, but he's a real comic, so he wants to write. I wonder who he was talking about. Yahoo asked Hari Kondabolu, what made you want to do comedy? Hari said, I knew I wanted to do comedy when I saw Margaret Cho on TV. Seeing an Asian American person do stand-up, even though she wasn't Indian, was incredible to me. She had command of an audience. She was sharing her stories. People were laughing. I didn't even think that was possible. There was no reason to assume that we were allowed to exist that way because the country very much speaks in a binary of black and white. So if you're not one of those things, especially in the late 80s, 90s, to see her be so confident and share her stories like that made me want to do it, and I've been hooked ever since. The first time I did stand-up was at a comedy night that started at my high school. I just wanted to scratch the itch, and so I got to perform in front of my class. The material was terribly unoriginal, but I got to do it, and that was the important part. I figured that was that, and then I went to college up in Maine, and I didn't necessarily love them. My decision there was, well, if anyone's going to look at me anyway, at least I'm going to control how they view me. It wasn't until after I graduated and moved to Seattle to work as an immigrants' right organizer when I decided to make stand-up my full-time job. I was working with people whose family members were being detained and deported, victims of hate crimes. It was a lot. So I did comedy at night, and it was this incredible stress reliever. And somehow I got discovered doing that while I was doing something that's far more important than what I'm doing now. CKT Tampa spoke to Jim Gaffigan, and they were like, I know you and your wife collaborate on writing a lot of your material. I don't know if they said it as accusatory as I just did it. Do you guys do that while you're on the road? And Jim said, well, working towards a special, you're refining it. It's kind of like you're harvesting the crops, right? You want all the jokes to be as ripe as they can be. But, you know, the writing process, and I definitely did a lot of writing with my wife, but with 5 kids and the chaos of life, every special has been a unique challenge. So even coming out of the pandemic, there's collectively a little bit of cynicism that's evolved in the audience and just our country. You know what I mean? Like people want a little more sarcasm, but I don't know. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, Jim, what's the biggest challenge about being a comedian these days? Jim said, well, I think the pandemic did have an impact on people, and I think that we're in this politically charged era, whether it's political correctness or even political divisiveness. So like for me, I think my biggest problem is self-assignment and also doing new stuff in a more challenging way. My currency is not shock, but stand-up is very much constructive around surprise. So I would say that I still take pride in the fact that my audience is filled with people of diverse backgrounds and also different opinions politically and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's all kind of self-assignment. I think with creative people, and you're a writer, you know this, you have to push yourself. So I'm not really affected by what's happening. I'm aware of it, but I don't have to worry. I mean, I also have an 18-year-old daughter. So if I was getting to anything that would be considered toxic, she'd probably give me a heads up.
Hi, my name is TJ, and I host a daily radio show. I have a bunch of friends that join me for it every day, and believe it or not, we all still see hope in humanity. Are you one of these people too? We want to hang out with you. Just search for The TJ Show on your favorite podcasting platform, or join us at thetjshow.com. We would love to have you being hopeful about humanity with us. Here's a quick sample of what the show sounds like. Hey, welcome to The TJ. As you can tell, you need to hear more of it. Search for The TJ Show, and we can't wait to meet you.
The spokesman caught up with Harland Williams, fantastic comic. He was talking about being in 1998's There's Something About Mary. Harland said, I can't say enough about Ben Stiller, who was so gracious to let me do what I needed to do when I was in the car with him during their scene. Some actors compete for attention, but Ben knew he had to be the straight man. That was an amazing experience as the Farrelly brothers let me improvise, and I just had so much fun in my scene. Harland said there's a sequel to Half-Baked coming up. I've talked about this before. Neither Jim Breuer or Dave Chappelle are in it. Harland said, I'm looking forward to being in it. Unfortunately, Jim and Dave aren't in it. I wonder why Brewer's not doing it. I get why Chappelle's not doing it. I guess Jim has moved away from his stoner image, right? And I know Jim fairly well. He's never really cared about money. So yeah, all right. I get why Jim's not doing it. Harland said, I'm really looking forward to being in it. Unfortunately, Jim and Dave aren't in it. It's been incredibly cool to make an impact in these movies in smaller roles, but I've also had some larger roles as well. It's an interview with a comedian, so I had to ask him about cancel culture, and he said, I had to alter my material when I arrived in America. I was killing in Canada with certain jokes, but they fell flat in America. People here like more abrasive humor. It's funny to them to watch John Belushi crush a beer can on his head. Canadians like more cerebral humor. They have more in common with the British, who enjoy the more thoughtful, quirkier jokes, so do I. But Americans want it thrown right at them, so that's what I've been doing for years, since there's a big difference between Canada and America. Laugh Button asked Lewis Black, when he takes a break, how long does it take him to get back in the rhythm on stage? Lewis says, well, if you're off for 2 weeks, it's crazy. It takes you a while to get back to where you want it. The pandemic was 500 days between shows. And then I went on, this will give you an idea of how stupid I was. I went back and chose to work at a club to first work on myself. I got to work at Hilarities in Cleveland, which is a great, great comedy club. It's always been good to me, so I was looking forward to it, and I hadn't worked in 500 days. I now have 6 shows in 4 days, and I'm going, this won't be tough because they're only 45 minutes long. Night 1, I go there and do the first show, and I go too long, 65 minutes, because I'm so excited. I'm like a 9-year-old. Then afterwards, the New York Giants football team were playing. I'm not even a fan, but it was a great game, so I yelled through it, and I stayed up all night. And the next morning, I woke up completely exhausted and then struggled through the weekend because I'm doing 2 shows a night. I finished the first show the first night. The second night, I did the first show, and then I have to come back for another show the same night. I'm like, I got to go home. What was I thinking? So that was tough. Today at the Boston Comedy Festival, Aqua Teen Hunger Force. They haven't aired new episodes since 2015, but Adult Swim has ordered 5 new episodes. All right, so why are they doing Boston? Well, back in 2007, a marketing campaign for the show was mistaken for a bomb threat. Several glowing character contraptions were placed around the city. The show creators will premiere a new Boston-centric episode and take questions. That's at 8 o'clock at the Berkeley Performance Center. Also, Robert Kelly and Friends at the Emerson Cutler Majestic Theater. That should be a good show. I wonder who the friends are, Robert Kelly. Sunday's a light day at New Zealand. You have the Comedy Fest All-Stars, Covert Juniors, and Jester. That's it for the lineup. Let's see who's playing Sydney. Diana Nguyen's show is called Going All In. Let's listen.
Hello, I'm Diana Nguyen, but you can call me Dee Dee. It's a nickname for Dancing Diana, Dirty Diana, or my mother likes to call me Disappointed Diana. And the reason why I'm disappointing is because you look at me, you think I speak Asian, right? I am Vietnamese, but Vietnamese is actually my 3rd language. My 2nd language is English, and my 1st language is body language. That's it for my cardio.
All right, that was a lot of fun, right? Yes. That was so much fun. I'm going to hunt for one more clip. Jacques Barrett's show is called The Special. Let's listen.
When men are homophobic, it makes no sense. Like, geez, mate, I don't like gay blokes, mate. I don't like them. Oh, what, you wish they were straight? Yep. You want to compete with these Greek gods? Look at them. Look at their bone structure and style. And you in your tarot cash shirt and your weak chin. Are you kidding? It's a gift from God that these particular guys are gay. It's like being a white sprinter in a world where Jamaican men don't like running.
That was good. I had to take out a couple F-bombs, but I enjoyed that a lot. He's Jacques Barrett. And that's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Like and subscribe on YouTube. See you tomorrow.